All right, so I wanted to just try to show you a quick example of this example that we had given for a data table. I just wanted to show people how you could set this up, and then as you're getting in data, you could actually fill out the table, and you could kind of have your graph all ready to go. So if you're collecting data and entering it at the same time, this would be a good way to kind of manage all that, to have your graph ready to go. You don't have to wait to collect all of your data. So I've just kind of recreated this data table, right? So this was the independent variable, and then this was the dependent variable. In this case, I've shown the example for 5 levels of your independent variable, 5 trials. The example that I'm actually making this for, people might just have 3 trials and 3 levels of your independent variable based on time. But I wanted to show you for the whole thing, and then obviously you can adapt this for your situation. So I'm just going to make up some numbers to kind of show you, but assuming that people might be at different stages in the collection process. So let's just say that maybe you were waiting for a couple last trials, but you wanted to make a table of. So let's say that you have these couple trials that you're waiting on. To make the table, and most people kind of know this, but up here, you can pretty much get to everything that you need through this format. So you can, I did like center alignment. I was wrapping my text in the figure title or the figure header. I was merging cells, right? So those are some things that you can use to make the table. For the mean, just remember that anytime, actually I'll show you how to do this again. I just wrote in equals average, and then selected these boxes, and then something to make your life easier is clicking on this box and dragging it down. These have this divided by 0 right now, but if I want, I can also just put in a placeholder number there, and then what you're going to see is that these will automatically update. So that's my mean, and then also remember that you have this standard deviation, and I'm looking at how much did these 5 measurements vary from that average, and I can do the same thing here and drag down. If I ever want to check this, I can just see what values those are kind of selecting there. So again, I'm going to put in just a couple things so that I have a number there, and I usually like to adjust the decimal places. I don't need so many decimal places on there. If these are just percentages, I might keep them all to just the ones place. So now making this stair step and trying to make the graph, I'm assuming I'm going to try to make a graph with error bars. And so remembering that here, right, this is the value. I want to graph that mean. And so if I set these up as formulas to say, hey, put this box, right, that's my mean for 5, this is my mean for 10, then anything that I add in here in terms of the data will just automatically update my graph. So I want this to be all ready to go when I get that last data in. And so now I'm going to select this and graph this. And so I'm inserting charts, and then I always want to check to make sure. So I don't know, here I would probably want to scatter plot. So I have these different values of you can even check the different 0, 5, 10, 15, 20 are my different volumes of water. And obviously I can customize the graph, and I think people are pretty good at that by now, going to chart and axes titles, things like that. But then, right, so this J column is my X values, and then each one of these is set as a different point. And so just reminding people how to set the error bars. If you go over here to series, you might want to maybe make your error bar first, but then you can go through one by one, and you can say, this is the 0 data point. Here's where you would have to do this at the very end. So the very end, you would have to put in your error bars, say you want a constant, and then type in the value of the standard deviation. So this is the thing that you're going to save until the very end. But up until this point, you could have the whole thing ready. So let's say you've put in the data that you have so far, and on the very last day, you're getting your data and putting this in, and you want your graph to update. So what we are currently doing is we have this where we're trying to get the slope from this graph, right, to get a rate. And so I'm looking at this M, and noticing that in this case, the units are percent per second, right? Those are the units of rise over run. But let's just say that I'm right, this negative 0.00006. Let's just say that that's the value that I'm typing in here. This might make this a little bit weird because they're two different sets of data that I'm talking about. But notice that mean will automatically update and my graph will automatically update, right? So this is 19. So I'm just going to take this out and we can see, right, like this is automatically changing. So let me just type in, I'm going to type in, let's say that these were our last two data points, right? That one just updated. And then let's just say that, again, I'm just typing in random numbers here. Let's just see if we can change this, right? So that just updated, the graph just updated. And the standard deviation is recalculating too. So if your graph looked great and your axes were all labeled, all you have to do is put in those last two data points. It updates itself. But the thing you do have to put in is the error bars, right? Because those are what you're entering manually. So you would want to, again, do each one. And now you'd say, okay, the 5 milliliter volume of water point, let's say you want these all to be blue. And then you're going to have to put in that error bar constant. And then I'm saying, okay, the standard deviation there is 3. That's the only thing that you would have to do for each data point. So you go through and you say, okay, this one, I want this to also be blue. And this is 10. So I'm going up to 10 and I'm looking at the standard deviation and that is 14. So this is the only piece that you would have to do. But for our current lab, if you only have 3 data points, that is not going to take you very long. So hopefully that is not too hard. Okay,